Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Den25 Show. We are back today with Jay, Matt, Kusal, and Inderji. We have some
wait, do we
news for you
start the
today.
recording?
I swear to God, Kusal,
Wait, do we?
I will smack you back into the third grade. Okay, we have some interesting news for you. First, we're going to cover some national politics, and then we're going to get down to a really local news story that I think has a very modern and contemporary conversation that we do need to have. So with that, I'm going to let Matt lead this one. So let's start today.
So in our previous episode, we were talking about Biden's VP pick. And just to quote Jay, he was saying something along the lines of, right now...
If it's Kamala Harris, I swear to God, I'll jump out of my fucking window.
Guess what? Ding, ding, ding. The VP pick is no other than Kamala Harris.
All right, Jay, do you need help getting up the stairs?
California.
I already have the ladder.
All right,
just give it a week
I
or two.
think,
You'll
I think
check
Jay
and
should
choke
just
slow.
live stream himself doing that.
Yeah, no, just what we'll do is just watch out for your local news story. It's probably gonna end up there. Where a local Indian boy jumps off a roof of house due to.
It's very optimistic to think you'd make local news.
True, I'm brown. They won't care. No, but it's like the pick just pisses me off. I'm gonna go on my.
No. First, just to interject real quick. Now, we are not being sexist. Just because we are criticizing Kamala Harris doesn't mean we are sexist. Now, that is a message to all the neolibs, okay? We were
literally for other women that were in the short list.
Exactly, yeah.
Stacey Abrams.
Karen Bates, Stacey Abrams, Barbara Lee.
I was gunning so hard for Stacey Abrams. You have no idea.
We were all just like,
hard.
please, just okay. My problem is the Biden pick is this: Kamala Harris brings literally nothing to the ticket that would help.
Dude, what do you mean? She might win over the swing state that's California.
Yes, because California has voted Republican or Democrat alternating for the last 14 elections.
Well, the thing is that like Biden's already a moderate himself.
Yeah, no, he's a moderate who's been tough on crime in the past.
Yeah.
So like bringing in Kamala Harris.
Why? So we got one tough on crime candidate. Why not bring another one just to
double it up?
That shit, cancel each other out.
I can see the strategy they were going for is because like Biden probably thought of like, oh, I'm bringing Kamala Harris, then like he can't bring up like, oh, defunding the police because we have like an actual policeman with us. But the problem is the problem with your pick is literally that it is so tone deaf with what the majority of your party wants. Like it makes no sense in an era right now where we're talking about how police officers are not kept under check and how there needs to be more restrictions and more limitations on their power. To pick a police officer who's from the system, literally rose up to the system and incarcerated more people than like I think any attorney general at the time in California, is the most tone deaf, most left pocket, most like just doesn't make sense pick possible.
Yeah, and plus, Kamala herself has referred to herself as the top cop of California. When she was
top cop? What is this, RoboCop?
I know.
References that's happening here.
Like other things is like you're leaving out progressives entirely from.
Oh no! This is just his way of saying I don't need your vote to win.
Exactly.
I am the top cop, and here is my top gun.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Kamala Harris, she has a very controversial history. Like I'm sure you guys remember when Tulsi Gabbard kind of shredded her on stage over her record of prosecuting minorities for marijuana-related violations. And many of them are still in prison today. And, I was watching a couple of videos, and I don't know if you guys have seen them, but they've gone, like, somewhat viral around Twitter and other platforms where she she wanted to prosecute parents for truancies.
I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy. Well, this was a little controversial in San Francisco. And frankly, my staff went bananas. They were very concerned because we didn't know at the time whether I was going to have an opponent in my re-election race. But I said, look, I'm done.
And the tone of the way she was saying it just seemed just so pretentious to me, just so inconsiderate of, the situation that you're putting, minorities in. Because, when you have like, there are several reasons why people have their kids have a lot of truancies, and that's a lot of personal reasons, right? And when parents are in that kind of situation, you're supposed to reach out to them and see what exactly is going on. You don't fucking prosecute them and try to force them to adapt to that situation because you don't know what their what their situation is. You don't know what they're going through. So
what are you talking about?
That was one thing.
What are you talking about? I love going to school in the heart of LA
Yeah.
and waiting until the gangs leave my street corner.
Oh, yeah, especially in San Francisco, man. Like,
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
district attorney
No,
there,
but
yeah.
like, there's so many things that are like just so tone deaf. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a recently immigrated family into America, such as, for instance, my dad's family was. So my dad's family immigrated from India to America. They had very little money to do. So sometimes my dad had to skip school to work at the orchard so that they could like get by
Yeah.
through the month and just get through. Like, there are some times where shit just happens and you're not gonna make it to school.
Yes,
And
exactly.
especially in immigrant and single parent households,
And
sometimes
low income.
in low income, especially low income immigrant and single parent. Like, if you have all three, that's, well, good fucking luck. Like,
Yeah.
it's so difficult sometimes to just make it to school that we need to be figure out what the reasons are for this and fix it. Not be like, it's the parents' fault. Fuck them.
Yeah, and people might say like, oh, they should have called up with the district to talk about that kind of stuff. But that's what I'm talking about, is where you're supposed to reach out to parents and see what's going on rather than prosecute them. And I wish I could show the video to you guys.
This is a serious issue, and I've got a little political capital, and I'm going to spend some of it.
So what I decided to do was to prosecute parents for truancy.
Oh, that and extend our school hours, right?
Yeah, and she was like, that was a little controversial in San Francisco, and then she does the laugh where she's like, it's just so dark to me, and that's not the only thing she's done.
Hey, that's a racist thing.
Yeah.
How dare you, Matt?
Well, the thing is, there's another video where she's talking about the argument where we should build
more schools, less jails. Build more schools, less jails. And we walk around everywhere. Build more schools. We protest. Build more schools, less jails. Put money into education, not prisons. There's a fundamental problem with that approach, in my opinion.
And then she continues to explain how, she has a padlock on her door, and then she makes like this kind of ignorant argument that, you have to have a recognition of crime on the streets. Now, the problem with that is that she doesn't take into account that the entire source and root of crime in a lot of ways is because of, disadvantaged communities kind of sort of breeding that kind of environment for our kids. We're seeing a lot about Black Lives Matter. We're seeing a lot about we should defund the police and bring those funds into other causes of need, like education, right? And then, what I'm seeing for a lot of people is that they're suddenly just kind of ignoring those stances that Kamala Harris has took. So it's just kind of like, wait, didn't you just support defunding the police? So how come you do not want to recognize these past positions that she's had in the past?
And why should we be proud? Because of their race? Why should I be proud that Kamala Harris got elected? When has she ever, before her presidential bid, ever took pride in being Indian? When? She's been more than happy to recognize that she was Black. All the time she'll talk about it, but she never talked about Indian. Why should I relate to her? How can I ever relate to her? But there are other women, person of colors, who are more in touch with what the masses want right now that could make people feel more included. Because right now, progressives don't feel included at all. You're disenfranchising your more progressive voters from the House Speaker, your VP pick, your president pick, all the people. You're basically giving progressives a middle finger saying, we don't give a fuck. You're going to vote for us anyway. So we're going to appeal to more Republicans and to more people on the right that are more in the middle to get us more votes. And you guys can all go suck it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And what's great is that, we were all counting on this VP pick to be kind of like the good compromise, So, this election wouldn't be just about voting the lesser of two evils. It still is. It is on both sides, like both presidential and vice presidential. And, you can make the argument that, anyone would have their bad sides. Like, Karen Bass with her ties to Cuba would be kind of like a bad thing for, certain swing voters. Yeah, you can make the argument. But just Kamala Harris, people say she's right for this moment for the fact that she's a Black woman and also an Asian American. However, we talk about BLM, we talk about all these things. We talk about going against the system. Kamala Harris is the system. She's the very thing we're trying to go against. So
Biden and Harris are literally, if the system took sentience and ran for office.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind her.
I
like,
mean, no,
flip-flopping.
that's Bloomberg.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's Bloomberg. That's Bloomberg. Not bad. Not bad.
I'm
Not
bummed
bad.
out
Sorry.
that Biden
Do you not
has
believe in
become a thing.
Bloomberg News, JD? Like,
Oh,
come on.
true. True. My bad. My
Yeah,
bad.
you got to play the political game. You know. You
No,
kinda-
she's really learned
kinda-
from the capitalist mentality.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
gotta mold her into what we want, which is why I advocate for it. People do not stop it when Trump loses, okay? Or if Trump loses, I want to. Stay
I hope to.
skeptical. I hope
Yeah, I don't
so.
think they
It's
will.
seeming like it, but you never know. Things could change in the next 3 to 4 months. All right.
You're right,
So,
Biden just shits himself on stage. Done.
Let's say like Biden wins or loses. Who would be our dream 2024 ticket?
I'll say it right now. Sings on. That's it.
Yeah,
He's not old
support
enough.
Sings On
No, he's old enough for
2024.
my heart.
And
I'm going to get
2020
Congress first
and
to amend the
2023.
Constitution.
Sings on Reyes ticket. Let's go.
Sings
No,
on Reyes.
just-
ticket.
no, we don't need more. Matt, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. It's just
Oh yeah, sorry. It's a sings on
Like-
God
Sorry.
ticket.
is the
Matt's
Yes,
good in the Senate.
finally.
Matt's good in the Senate.
branch and the legislative branch. He's everything.
Matt
It's
and
taking
I-
long.
Both agree on this, which is AOC. I think
Yeah.
AOC running would be the best ticket possible for the progressive side. But,
What
more
about-
realistically.
Yeah.
More realistically, I think it's going to be someone who is literally going to be the same moderate. I'm
It's
expecting
probably going to be Harris.
Harris because she's
If
VP.
they win, I think if they win, it's gonna be Harris.
AOC beats Harris in the primaries, and then AOC suddenly picks Harris for.
Unless Biden somehow becomes like the next FDR and just starts rolling out initiatives.
If Biden loses, okay, I'm gonna take a controversial take here. That would actually be better for. It could be either worse or better for progressive policy, because
Yeah, it's a coin flip.
it's a coin flip. It could be better or worse, because by 2024, people are going to be so upset with not just the Republican Party but also the Democratic Party for picking such like a liable candidate.
I think the Democratic Party is just so run by corporate dollars that I don't think that.
Well, the thing is, but if they lose in 2020, Democrats are going to have to rethink their strategy.
Yeah, they'll probably. I don't know.
The thing is,
I
it's
mean,
a coin
you
flip.
could have
It's
said the
either-
same thing about 2016.
2016 was different because 2016 there was all these what ifs about when Trump gets into office he's probably going to straighten up because his cabinet's going to keep him in check and all this stuff. But if Trump gets reelected with the COVID fuck up, with all the other shit he's done, and you still couldn't win because you're just your mindset, you have to change how you're approaching these elections. Honestly.
Plus Bernie's, the kind of progressive kind of movement kind of just started in 2016. Yeah.
Okay, but now
However,
the question
Jay,
was, who's your dream
Okay.
ticket?
Okay, I say it. It is Amy Klobuchar for the sole reason I can call her AK-47. That is all I want in this life.
Yeah. So Jay, what is your dream ticket?
My dream ticket is AOC or Yang for president, and then
Okay, but Yang's not going to run again.
Exactly,
let's be
Yang's
honest.
not gonna run.
Does he
Wait,
not?
Who said he's not running?
True.
Who said he's
But
not running?
it's AOC or
Did
Yang. I
he
want
say
someone
he's not running?
Didn't
He didn't
say
say
it, but I don't think he's. I think he made his point. He made his point about UBI.
I think I actually disagree.
Really?
Yeah. Look, he's been, he started Humanity Forward, this, new, I think it's a PAC organization to start, organizing and challenging incumbents. And, he's been pretty successful in that kind of sense. Plus, people are just looking to him as a front runner. Not a front runner, sorry, but kind of as a potential candidate for 2024. And
I think
the hype. You can never tell what's going to go on, but
it's too early to tell. But if I could, it would be Yang or AOC for
You
president.
know
Plus
what my dream
Yang-
ticket is?
Yang-
Andrew Yang, John Yang. It's Yang Yang.
This is my friend Jimmy Yin. All right.
If it was my dream, I would go double progressive and just go AOC for president, or Yang vice, and then or flip flop. I don't care.
I think in that sense,
That's my dream. That's
It
the
would
one.
depend on either the electoral makeup in 4 years
Exactly.
or how much Democrats kind of defeat the Republicans. Because, if you look at polling today, even with the swing states, people are saying that Biden wins with 350 something electoral college
Which is
votes.
What are you guys talking about? I want Mitch McConnell as vice president.
Ooh.
Finally.
Just get him out. Just get him out of his seat.
The
Let's
Grim
just-
Reaper.
You know, because he does
let's
nothing
just
in the
get-
Senate, so it's
like,
perfect.
come on,
given the
guys,
job
we
that
have
he can't
we
do
have
anything.
But Kusal, I know you have a differing opinion on this, so I want you to provide a challenge. What do you think would be a good ticket for 2024?
What? I mean, probably Yang and whoever he picks for his VP.
Every college student fucking shills for Yang. It's amazing.
We all love this man.
Okay,
I mean, like, okay, I don't know. Also, the other thing is, I don't know. I separate Yang from the other progressives personally because he doesn't agree with the progressives on a
he
lot.
doesn't.
Yeah, he's like he's a staunch capitalist.
He's
He
kind of
believes
like
in school
no.
vouchers.
He's like, I mean, he's capitalist. Like he's very
He's
capitalist.
more libertarian in a lot of aspects.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
which isn't a bad thing. You know, I
This is
respect libertarians for specifically for their criminal justice kind of stances.
Oh, hello. Welcome.
I wanted to kind of get everyone's like picks out, right? I'm going to post a poll that
Oh,
kind of states kind of the makeup of what people are thinking right now for 2024 in terms of.
Cuomo.
Yeah, this sounds
I
right.
completely forgot about this dude.
I don't know if
Oh.
AOC will run.
I don't know if he'll
Even know
run.
who
I
the
would-
first person is.
Here's the thing about AOC is that I don't see anyone else that's leading the progressive left right now.
Exactly, that's the thing. She's
That's
very.
my troubling thing because I know the concerns about AOC. You know, she'll barely be eligible to run by then, and you know, experience is something that's important,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Honestly-
definitely a concern of mine.
I'm gonna change my ticket because I completely forgot. Like, in terms of realism, I think Cuomo has a definite shot.
He has a really
He
big
has a
shot.
really good shot.
I forgot about him.
I would vote for him. Like,
I mean, he did pull Medicare a lot.
he
of
did, but like, what's it called? In terms of where we are right now, historically in COVID crisis and how he's been managing, and like just the way he's been.
Keep in
not-
mind the election will be happening 4 years from now.
Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot.
So his hype could be lost.
I think
still-
like the thing about him is he's gotten a lot of media exposure from COVID and everything
Exactly.
like, going on
Definitely has,
CNN
though.
and everything. So like his name is a lot more out there now than it was before. So a lot of people like even like a lot of people that I know, they're like, oh, Cuomo would make a good president or something.
And I'm surprised in this poll they didn't include Gavin Newsom either.
I mean, we're trying to recall him, and we live in this state.
There's so many places
got a
that
lot
trying
of-
to recall him.
There's kind of an incident with police between 2 or 3 black teenagers. Basically, what happened was that these teenagers, they were at a bus stop. They were sitting down. They were chilling, right? And this homeless Hispanic guy walks up to them and asks if they have crack. Now, these teens are some creepy dude, asks if they have crack, and they're like, "No, sir, please go away." And then when they say no, this homeless guy pulls up a knife on them and tries to attack them. Now, they called the cops. The stoner, I think it was a Buffalo Wings place.
Buffalo
They,
Wild Wings. It was about.
Yeah. The owner called the cops and said this homeless man was attacking these kids, these teenagers, and they had skateboards with them, and that was like their only way of like self-defense. So they like tried to protect themselves from this crazy homeless dude like trying to attack them with a knife. However, there was another store owner, another person that called, and I don't know if this was intentional because they were black or that, subconsciously being racist and thinking that it was the black teenagers that were attacking the homeless man, even though it was the other way around. But this person called the cops, and apparently the cops were responding to that call specifically. So they pulled up, they tried to arrest the teenagers, and you know what they fucking did? You know what they did? They pulled 2 police officers pulled up pistols on these teenagers. And then
Oh,
a
they
few
don't wanna
minutes
buy that
later, some guy, his name is Deputy Gonzalez, he pulls up an entire rifle on these black teenagers that did nothing. They did nothing wrong. Now, later in the video, they were basically saying that, we were responding to a different call, so there was like a bit of like of confusion, but the question still, becomes apparent. Why are you pulling up a freaking rifle to an incident that would be supposedly as small as this? That is just my number one concern. So, it's just whack. It's crazy. I hate how our police department here in Santa Clarita is dealing with these kinds of things, especially after all that has happened in, the past 2 or 3 months. It's just whack. So that's what I know about it. And Mayor Cameron Smith, right? Smythe.
Fine.
Yeah, Smythe. He released a statement saying that we're going to look into and have an in-depth review on the in-person training for police officers and see how that's handled. And right now, Deputy Gonzalez is off the police force, I think, along with the other police officers as well. So that's what happens. There's actually a protest going on over the intersection by the police officers right now. I couldn't attend it, but a lot of people are. I don't know how it's going, but kudos to them for standing up as like a voice against this entire thing. So that's what happened. Yeah.
So the whole situation is just infuriating as hell, because they didn't even like think like, oh, maybe there's other story to it. They just go up. Oh, look, they have there's black teenager skateboard, Mexican guy, homeless guy, with guns.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't try to restrain the two of them and try to figure out the story or anything like that. It seems like they just pulled out their weapons on these people.
Yeah.
Like what goes through your mind to where the first, like every time, like this, like it infuriates me with police officers. What goes through your head that every time there's a situation like this, it's instantly just bring out your guns?
Yeah. And
and even when they're detained and they're not doing anything, you still have them armed. The guy had a rifle aimed at one of the kids, finger on the trigger, ready to pull if anything happened.
Yep.
Like, are you kidding me? These are teenagers.
Yeah. And
they're like probably somewhat younger than us.
Yeah. And
like,
when you have your finger on the trigger, that means you are ready to shoot.
You are ready to shoot.
That is the number one, standard kind of procedure when it comes to handling guns.
If
And
you
this
hold
guy-
it straight across or on the trigger, that means you're ready to shoot them. It's like,
Yeah,
oh.
and if you look at the clip, that's what he was doing. If you zoom in, that's what he was doing.
And I really quickly want to say that for the viewers out there and for anybody that watches this, people who own guns know that rule. That's like the first thing anybody will teach you, and even common sense. It's like, you literally don't put your finger on the trigger unless you're about to pull it.
Yeah.
Like, any person with a gun knows that, so we're not going to mold everybody in as like, this is the way that, our police does it. It's the way that most gun owners do it. So we're not going to blame people with guns and mold them into this too.
Mm-hmm. But Mark, I know you have some specific thoughts on this.
I do.
Specific opinion. So why don't you get into that?
I actually have a couple of defenses and a couple of also, I'm also angry at this video. I think it's disgusting. But I'm going to put in some more details onto the story.
I think I kind of know where you're going to go with this. So go ahead.
Okay, so let's first off say what the video is showing, because at this point I cut it in. So as you can see in the video, there is the Buffalo Wild Wings owner. There's a lady screaming, "It's because they're black. It's because they're black." And then there's like a group of people starting to amass them. They're detaining the kids. Part of the policy is that first off, just to dispel some myths, they have to detain everybody at the scene. Like it's just procedure. So it's not like they could have just like questioned them at the scene. They have to detain them because even if they were a victim or not, like I've been detained. So that's another story.
Sorry for another time, ladies and gentlemen.
But yeah, it's procedure. They literally just question and let them go. So it's not unusual. Now, here's where I'm gonna preface this by saying it was wrong. How it went down was completely wrong, completely not procedure. Dude shouldn't have carried a fucking rifle. Like, no way. Like, pistols, no, I still think that's escalating it, but a fucking rifle? Okay. Dude, come on. Like, no.
Why does he even have a rifle with him?
And just to note, this guy joined the police force October of last year. So, he's got like the rookie feel, maybe, just funny feeling like he's like all that because now he has all this kind of power now.
Yeah.
If you watch the video, dude walks out of the car like thinking he's like
he's fucking RoboCop.
He's fucking walking up and posing with his rifle, and then he points like in like a kind of like a cool way.
Yeah, and then he literally just goes, "Stop!"
No, right?
No, like the reason why this hits me differently is because I've gone to that area because I used to live in Canadian country. Yeah. So I've literally been to that supermarket area countless number of times. I've been to that Buffalo Wild Wings. I've been to the Food for Less that is there. I've been to all the shops that are there. That's where we shopped all the time, me and my family. So like it's hitting like that might have been like me or something, like just like at a car, like sitting over there. If I ever took, whenever I went over, like it just hits different. Like what would I do? Like that situation, like where you're there and like you expect, even like what's going on when the police come, you expect them. Oh, it's gonna be okay now. The police will like keep us safe, and now you have guns drawn on you, and then this dumbass comes out with a fucking assault rifle.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, as somebody who's, I used to live there too, but I also used to take that same bus stop, same route. I used to wait the same as those kids. I was probably the same age too, and you know, I used to live in South Central, so I kind of get that you have to keep yourself on guard. So I'm gonna first off praise these kids, like, hey, yo, someone attacked you. You're ready. You're alert. You know what the fuck you're doing. All right, A1, good sauce. Now, back to my point. First off, I think we should blame the dispatcher.
Honestly,
like we shouldn't just be like blaming the guy who's shooting or like the entire police department. I think we also need to blame the dispatcher. We need to like really bring out the light in the dispatcher. Why? Is because literally if they got 2 calls, let's say the officer got the 1 call that it was like a bunch of teenagers harassing the hooligans. The Buffalo Wild Wings owner also called in and literally stated on the call that it was not the teenagers, that they were being attacked. And so a dispatcher has to listen to 2 of those and decide that maybe, and to alert the cops, who, by the way, are in, you know, adrenaline's running. Some of them have PTSD issues. They're in a city where they're in a job where their life is constantly threatened. So I can understand why maybe they wouldn't stop and think for a bit, but I can see how we should train them more often with that. But like, nevertheless, I think I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they were just in that moment, and that that's the system's fault for not really training them for that. But the dispatcher should have also been responsible for letting them know, like, hey, there's a conflict of how someone's telling the story.
Like, you should have called, like, when they found out, oh, look, there's 2 things going on here. It should have been, hey, yo, by the way, there are 2 different stories on what's going on here. Be careful and be mindful that both of these things can happen. I'm not saying it's only the police officer. I think the police officers have a role to this. But, like, it's coming back to the whole system.
But I think it's how we're protesting this, right? Because I'm looking at the protests, I'm looking at the social media posts. It's mostly people talking about the officer who had the rifle or the entire police department, but nobody's really pinpointing the problems in the system. It's mostly just a broad generalization of defund the police, without an actual. First off, let's wait for the investigation, and then let's make some educated guesses before we actually start going out and like ruining some of these people's lives. Because, you know, these officers, like, they got families too. Imagine like a kid whose dad is a police officer. Now he's getting shit at school for it. Like,
and to be fair, you know, to me, I just have to ask the question: what kind of details in this kind of situation that the dispatcher would receive by a call and would communicate to officers would tell this guy, Deputy Gonzalez, to bring an entire rifle to the scene?
Exactly.
That's just my question. Like, I understand pistols because that's more of like procedure, but it's just the rifle part that's really kind of like not sitting with me well.
Yeah.
The rifle's the biggest part about it, in my opinion.
That's where you can have some philosophical arguments about, is it right that we should be giving officers rifles in the first place? But here's where part of my defense comes in. We do have some gangs in Santa Clarita. They have caused a lot of problems. And we do have people that roll up with guns around the city because, again, you know, gun restrictions in the city aren't that good. So a lot of people have weapons.
Oh, yeah. It's not good. Yeah.
It's not good. And also it's kind of like standard to have a gun because, you know, Republicans.
No, but my biggest problem is to the situation that they were called to.
Hold on.
Like, that's the one thing that with the rifles, the situation was called to.
Well, they have it because they're on patrol, so they're gonna have it regardless. I think it's this dude shouldn't have pulled the fucking rifle. That's where I agree.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like the situation, they had him like hands up, it seemed like on their like detained, but then the dumbass pulls out a fucking rifle. The people who are just there, like the problem is like the reaction to the situation that occurred.
Yeah, that's the problem. But I think Matt's trying to allude to why they had the rifle in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And so
or why you brought it, at least.
Yeah, I mean, this goes part of my bigger defense of what happened is, we do have a lot of problems with this, a lot of violence. We literally had a couple news stories where people were running around with fucking pistols in their cars and driving around. Like, I saw that this morning. It's not uncommon for police officers to be armed in that way because literally there could be a shootout in any second. So I get it. Not to mention because of our policy, we have a lot of people who have to arm themselves if they're selling drugs, right? Because of how stringent we are on drug policy.
Hopefully, we're becoming more lenient towards that over the years, but
here in Santa Clarita specifically, because of how conservative this area seems to be. If you're caught with drugs, you go to jail and slammer for a couple of years, or even up to 10 years. But and so people will naturally try to defend themselves, and that's happened quite a couple of times here in Santa Clarita on local news. But here's also my defense, which is, I'm putting myself in that situation, right? Let's say I'm not the dumbass who pulled the rifle, but I was the guy with the fucking pistol, right? First off, I got a union. And I got buddies at the department who are like, hey, you back me up, or what the fuck, you're gonna die, and I'm not gonna be there for you. So naturally, I'm gonna be inclined to take care of whoever the fuck is with the rifle, because he has my back. 2, there's people with phones out. There's a lot of people screaming and shouting. There's kids there. They're scared. There's a homeless guy. He got the call from dispatcher saying, kids are attacking a guy. 3, I've been in this department before. I've seen, people get shot. I'm still a bit, messed up over that. I've been to a couple of calls where I've seen people get shot, where I've had to pull out my gun and shoot people, because that has happened, because there's shootouts here in Santa Clarita. I've seen things where it's escalated very quickly, and the gun has saved me. So that's in my head, and this is all happening in like literally 5 minutes. And 3, I'm trying to think of a procedure because I don't want to get fired. If they're like, hey, you let these motherfuckers go, even if they are victims, you have to detain them. And so I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about BLM. I'm thinking about all the shit I'm going to get online.
A lot of considerations. And especially here when, we just had a shooting at Saugus High School. So it's very testy. You have to kind of decide where you are on the spectrum, and it's because you're not going to appease a lot of people. So I think overall, the main issue here is the mismanagement of the police department, because
100%.
Yeah, because keep in mind that there were other calls, because the owner of the Buffalo place called as well, saying that it was the homeless man that was attacking the kids, and that came from the exact same location. So you think that they would kind of like coordinate the multiple 911 calls and kind of determine what's like going on based on majority opinion of, which caller says this, which caller says that.
And that's the dispatcher's responsibility.
That is the dispatcher's responsibility, yeah.
And even the captain, even the sergeant, like, come on.
Yeah. So, I mean, even if you use the argument that, they're just following orders, they also do have their own responsibilities. So overall, in my opinion, I think I really don't think it was right to bring out the rifle. That's on Deputy Gonzalez's part. For the mismanagement of the entire situation, it does go to the dispatcher.
This dispatcher and captain,
And I think this just points to a broader issue within our police department. There's a lot of mismanagement going on, a lot of negligence. It's just, I really do think we should be looking more into how these people are trained, what kind of conduct they're trained with. It's just, it's whack, dude.
Although, I've seen a lot of people. Okay, there was something you said earlier about the implicit bias the caller may have had when they saw 3 black kids and a homeless guy.
Yeah.
I saw some stuff on social media about that too, but I'd also, I'm not trying to defend this person, but first off, they called, it's what you should do, no matter whose fault it was. Thank you for that. Because of that, 3 kids are potentially safe, and some guys, these crazy dudes off the street. Okay. Yeah. Now, people are pointing immediately towards implicit bias, and I get it, right? But at the same time, I'm also thinking it's just age bias. Because if you see fucking teenagers on the street and a homeless guy, I think that has a higher reason than it's black teenagers. Like because if they were like, if it was like a adult black guy, I doubt it would have been the same reaction.
Yeah.
Like an adult black guy wearing a business suit. Like, okay, that's not the same reaction.
Yeah.
But if they were implicitly racist and that was like the first reason, it would be the same call. But no, it's because these were teenagers, these were young, they were wearing, what was hooligan wear.
Yeah.
Oh, so they were wearing street clothes, got it.
Yeah, street clothes. And I'm like, okay, this is age bias and this is also like, what's it called? Just like culture bias,
But there's also speculation, though. You're speculating what was going through the dispatcher's mind.
Not the dispatcher, the caller.
Yeah, the caller, one of the callers. Yeah.
One of the callers.
And when I was watching the video, a lot of people were specifically the mom, because she of course you get defensive, because her son just got arrested for
exactly. So I get that.
Yeah. So, but she was basically yelling, "It's because they're black. It's because they're black. It's because they're black." But that was the police officers specifically. So this gets into testy waters, determining, is it really because they're black? Is it not? Because you can't really get into the minds. Like
exactly. I think this is more towards the people in the comments section who are like, like, oh yeah, fuck these guys, fuck the color. That color should be burned, which I did see. And it's like, okay, I get if you're in that situation, you're the mom. Like, 100%. I thought she did everything exactly like she should do. She didn't charge them. She told them to keep their hands up. Like, okay, good.
Excellent
good on your part. Exactly.
For sure. Yeah.
But, people in the comment who are just kind of rolling in this whole, like, mob mentality of, oh, these guys are all fucking racist. We should just, like,
and
we should charge them.
It'd be pretty stupid for anyone in the police department to kind of just have that kind of racial bias when they're arresting people, especially in this time now.
All right, officer, let's take a look at your arrest.
It's literally the largest movement going on right now in the United States. You really think it'd be a good idea to kind of make those assumptions? Like, you got to be very, very careful.
It's like hey, officer, let's take a look at your monthly arrests. Oh my God, this looks like the cast of Empire.
Yeah. So overall, this may have less to do with race and more to do with what the arguments that BLM has against police, the negligence,
exactly,
the amount of power and lack of training and lack of respect that many police officers
lack of
have.
education.
Yeah, lack of education, lack of funding to education, which ends up causing the crime that leads to more funding going to the police because they think that would, be kind of the direct cause, but it's not. The direct cause is, just for shitty education system. And
in your research, is everything okay? Like, are the kids fine? And are they home now? Everything okay?
Yeah, because after this happened, they were let go because, if you watch the video, they were kind of sitting around and talking to each other, kind of, because the video ends before it was done, but they were kind of like talking to each other, kind of like thinking like, oh, did we do it right? Did we not? Yeah, I don't think they took it as seriously as they probably would now, knowing what would happen. But yeah, the kids are okay. I can't tell what kind of mental things have happened to them, what kind of trauma. I mean,
they probably have
a rifle pointed at this. So yeah.
I think they're stronger than that. I normally think like if you're strong enough to know to defend yourself against a knife with a fucking skateboard, I think you're A1. Good sauce.
It's still scary though. You got a rifle pointed at you.
It's terrifying.
Exactly. It is terrifying.
Yeah, especially in a social time when whether it's justified or not, we are demonizing police.
Yeah, like I've never had a rifle pointed at me. I've had a gun pointed at me, but not a rifle. Like
I've had a knife.
More you know about Mark.
When I was a secret undercover agent,
when Mark was going into
Mark's
the police.
Mark's a hitman.
Mark went undercover into the police. A gang member.
That would actually be a really good segment. Like like those undercover worker shows
Yeah.
Except we're a
You're
police
our boss.
officer.
All right, fine. Give me my donut, my gun, and just tell me what the black neighborhood is. We'll be fine.
Honestly, there's one person on the team who's just in it for the free Dunkin' Donuts. That's it.
That's me. I will literally be. I want my free donuts. You know.
Guys,
And I want-
social experiment. I wear blue in blood territory in a bandana.
Hey, look,
we're a
camera's
blue-
right there. Camera's right there.
And I replace every B with a C. Let's just see how it
I
goes.
guarantee there's probably some dumbass influencer vlogger online that's definitely done that.
Oh, yeah, maybe that's what Jake Paul's trying to do with all of his weapons.
Oh god, I don't even know what happened with that. Oh, god.
Den25 Show.